Back in 2009, when I was in Niagara County Jail serving time for a violation of probation in drug court, waiting to go to prison, I seen an incident of a man with a broken arm fight a man much larger than him, and he did pretty well, and things went pretty crazy. Tune in and I'll tell you the story about that, and y'all hear what happened. Welcome back to another episode of Grow With Me, Sawyer P, where we grow together, not apart. And in this episode, as you had seen from the introduction, we are going to get into an incident of where I was serving time in the county jail. I was just a young laddie then. Let's see, in 2009, that was how many years ago? 16 years ago. I'm 36 now. I was about 20. So I was just a young pup, and this was, shortly after I first started getting in trouble. I first started getting in trouble at 17. Started pretty early. But real quick before I get into the story, I'll be real fast. I'll try to not take too long and draw out too many details, unnecessary details. I think I did that in some of my previous videos, so I'm going to try to work on that. But I'm outside sitting in my car, just got back from the gym, but I'll just say my quick spiel. If you guys enjoy the prison genre type content, crazy stories of fights, what prison culture is like, day-to-day things that happen in there, getting released and life after getting out and getting back on your feet, addiction stories, crazy stories in addiction, how to overcome addiction, crazy stories of things that happen while in active addiction. If you guys like all that type of stuff, I got a good share of stories. I'm only 36, but I've seen my share of some pretty wild stuff and been through some wild stuff myself. So if you guys like that type of stuff, consider subscribing, liking, sharing the channel with a friend, family member, acquaintance that you think might enjoy this type of stuff. And if you ring the notification bell, it will notify you anytime I drop a video. I'm trying to get it at least one or two up per week. That's my goal. About a year and a half ago, I was uploading kind of consistently, then fell off for a while, but I want to grow this channel and tell people my story and some of the stuff I've seen and been through. So I think people can either relate because they've been through similar things. I think that's a good bit of my audience is those types of folks, and some people just find it fascinating. They've never been through such a thing before, so they like to hear about those stories, So putting these on so I don't forget them, but leave them out here in the car when I go inside after I talk to you guys. But so anyways, I'm going to jump right into the story. I won't hold y'all up any longer. So consider doing those things if you enjoy it. And also, if you comment, if you comment in the first 24 hours up to a few days after the video post drops, I will respond. Sometimes eventually people that comment, YouTube might not notify me, but if it's a newer video, I usually get notifications and I try to respond to everybody. So, if it's within a few days, maybe up to a week after I drop a video, if you guys comment, I will be sure to respond to you guys. So let's jump right into it. So this was in 2009. I had just got caught up at a friend's house. I was on the run for almost a year from felony probation. I was on felony probation for a burglary charge. I was an idiot when I was younger, tried to break into a drug dealer's house, and got jammed up. And originally, they showed me some mercy. I was young. They gave me my youthful offender status and put me in drug court and felony probation. It was a Class C violent felony, but they dropped it down to a Class E non-violent. So, I initially started off in drug court probation. They made me go through rehab programs and such, and eventually I kept flunking out and giving dirty urines and getting caught giving fake urines, of other people's pee, and staying out past curfew, doing all kinds of things. And then finally they violated me and kicked me out of drug court, and I went on the run. And once they finally caught me, I ran to Alabama. Then I was down here for about 10 months. This is where I live now. And I came back up there, was staying with a friend, and I'm pretty sure someone told on me. I think I know who it was, but they came and raided this house and found me in his attic. They raided the whole house and found me up there. So anyways, so what happened? I'll tell you guys this story. So this particular incident, I was going to court. I want to say this was maybe within a few days to a week after I got picked up in Niagara County Jail in Lockport, New York. Maybe some of y'all know where that is. It's near Niagara Falls, New York. This particular day I had court. I believe it was my arraignment hearing. Once I got caught, I went to court with a few other guys. We got put on a bus and or cop car bus and taken to court. And I got arraigned, that there's a potential you can get a bail, if you get picked up on a violation or a new charge or whatever in county court before the judge. And being where I was on the run for 10 months, they weren't too happy about that, so they gave me no bail. So I was sitting, I could have $1 billion and I couldn't have got out. There's nothing I could do to get out, nothing. And at that point I knew I was going to prison. I knew they were upset with me and mad at me. There was a chance they could have reinstated me back on probation had I not ran, and maybe they would have put me through rehab or something. I don't know, again, even though I'd already been through several. But they weren't having it. They were mad. When you go on the run, it ticks off the judge and the DA. So I was preparing myself to go upstate, which I did. I ended up going upstate and doing a 1 to 3 on that particular sentence. I went to prison a few different times, but some were violations, 2 new cases. So anyways, we go to court, we come back, and the way most county jails are set up, at least in New York, there's something called a sally port. And what a sally port is, I'm sure a lot of you know what that is, but for those that don't, it's a gated area. It's a fenced in area on the side of the jail. Whenever you come back from court, or if you get arrested and you get booked into the jail, they crack the gate, let the cop car come in, and close the gate behind the cop car, and you're inside of a secure fence with razor wire. Once you're in that fence, you ain't escaping. Like you're in a secure facility at that point. Good luck trying to get out. But sorry, I got my door open and sometimes little gnats will fly in, but I turned my AC off so the air didn't blow too loud into the microphone. So anyways, so they crack us in. We get brought into the jail. I think there was about 3 of us guys, and there was a lot of people that had court that day. It was either like a Tuesday or a Thursday. Those seemed to be the busiest court dates, all the court days for the jail. Although, people go to court every day, and it could be in Niagara Falls, it could be in Lockport, it could be in Newfane, it could be in Lewiston. There was all kinds of little town courts and county courts and city courts, North Tonawanda, all over that particular county. And we got brought in, and as soon as you come into the jail, you're in an area called IPO, which stands for that jail. They call it IPO, which stands for Inmate Processing Office. Anyone that's newly arrested or coming and going from courts, if you make bail, that's where you come in. They fingerprint you, they take your picture, you get strip searched, they take your clothes and property and put you in a jumper, and they store your clothes in a storage area and like a net bag thing with a hook. It's like a hook, they hang on hooks. And so we came back, we're all secure, chained up, we got the black box on our wrist and it's close to our body. The ankle chain's on, they take all that stuff off of us. And right whenever they crack you into IPO, for that particular jail, if you look to the left, there's what they call a bullpen, which is a larger tank for when they're holding, larger amounts of people for court. Usually they try to group people together. Like they put all the court guys in that tank. In a different tank, they might have, women that are separate from the men. In the other tank, it might have the people that are under 19 and count. In New York State, 19, you can be classified with the adults. If you're 18, 17, or 16, you go into a youth block. in that particular jail, which is a cell block rather than a pod or a dorm. So they kind of put people in different areas by what they got going on. If people haven't been strip searched yet and they're still in their street clothes, they might put them in a different tank. So that day, tons of people went to court. County court was going on, which is where I went. That's the big boy court for people going to prison or potentially going to prison. Not everybody always goes to prison, but Niagara Falls, that's the biggest court. There's Lockport City, which would be the second biggest. And, so lots of people are coming and going from court. This is towards the end of the day, maybe around 3, 4 o'clock. Everyone's starting to come back from court, So Niagara Falls court comes in, and there's already several guys from different courts that came in. Me and the 2 guys I was with, and then several other people from different courts that we got thrown in that bullpen, which was a larger holding tank. Right as soon as you come into the jail, you look to your left. All that's in there is a toilet, a sink, and a phone on the wall. Some people can make bond. They put a phone on the wall, so you can call your family or try to contact the bail bondsman if you know the number or can get the number, and try to get out that way. There's several of us in there from multiple courts, and lo and behold, Niagara Falls City Court comes back, and there's a lot. That's the biggest one. There was probably 20 to 30 dudes that went to that court alone. They have to take a bus, almost like a little charter bus, of those guys to court, to save gas. Instead of putting a few in a cop car and send multiple cop cars, they send 2 officers and put multiple in that bus, and send them to court. So they all come back, and at this point, just about everyone's back from court. We're all in the bull tank. There's so many, and there's 2 benches on the wall in the bullpen as well. 2 long metal benches on each wall. So, that bench is about filled up with people sitting. And there's some, it's so full in there, there's not places to sit on the bench. Some people are standing, pacing, some are sitting on the floor, some are talking to each other, and they usually keep us down there if you have court till about dinner time. They like to feed everyone down there just to make sure everyone eats. They don't want to send people back to the pod and then the court miscount and not have trays up in the pod for people to eat. So they usually feed us. They strip search everyone after they come back. They take the ankle and black box and chain that goes around your waist that secures your hands to your body so you can't attack anybody in the courtroom. They take all that stuff off. They feed us, strip search us, all that stuff. We're down there. We just got fed, and as people come in back from court, some people, they try to feed everyone at once, but there might have been a few stragglers they had missed. And whenever I was in there before Niagara Falls came back, there was a guy on the phone. I don't know if he had just got, what court he had went to. Bigger black guy, probably weighed about 210. He wasn't jacked, but he definitely didn't look like a slouch by any means. He didn't look weak. He looked healthy and fairly healthy and strong and decent shape. Probably handle himself if need be. I noticed him over on the phone. I'm not paying too much attention to him at this point, but he's making phone calls. Click, 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 hang up. Click, 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 hang up. I'm assuming he's trying to contact family or something so he can try to bond out or let him know what happened in court. And while he's over there, the door to the IPO pops open. It's real loud. Everything's so loud because it's metal against metal hitting in there. That's one thing. It's one of the worst things about jail is how loud it is. Everything echoes because it's concrete and metal. So people yell, or if there's any kind of banging, it echoes. It's just awful. It makes your nerves on edge. So that door opens. Many of us are already eating those. The Niagara Falls guys file in. They send them in. At this point, the bullpen's packed. There's so many people in there. There's hardly room to walk around or pace if you wanted to pace in there. Sometimes you get restless and just want to do something, so you walk back and forth just to burn off that restless energy. So those Niagara Falls guys come in, and there's one guy he kind of stood out a little bit. I'd heard of him before. I don't know him on a personal level, but I'd heard of him, and he kind of had like a reputation in our area. He went by I heard everyone call him Murder Matt. Like I said, I didn't know him personally. I heard of him, and this is the first time I'd seen him. He wasn't huge. He was, you know, probably, if I had to guess, maybe 160, but he was pretty cut up and ripped. You know, he looked like he might have been in prison before and done a lot of calisthenics type guy, you know, lean, defined type guy, but he wasn't humongous. You know, he just looked more athletic. You know, there's two people I kind of just described to you. The guy on the phone, he's a bigger guy, but he by no means is a slouch. He looks like he can handle himself, pretty strong looking. Not particularly jacked, but still a pretty good sized dude by all means, you know. And everyone files in. Murder Matt files in, and you know, he just kind of has an aggressive, angry demeanor to him. Like, he likes to get off the vibe. He's not a person to be messed with. And at that point in time in my life, I was young and naive, and you know, I kind of took heed to that. You know, as I got older, some people were just full of smoke, you learn, and just they're all talk. But I got the vibe this dude, if he needed to, or if it came down to it, he would absolutely not hesitate to, you know, pop off on somebody, you know. So the dude, they file in, they feed those guys. And I noticed Murder Matt, he's kind of talking, and he seems angry. I'm assuming court didn't go well for him. I noticed he has a broken arm. His arm's in a sling. There's like a cast on his forearm and wrist. So his arm's like this. And his arm's in a sling that goes over his shoulder that keeps his arm up, you know. So he had injured his arm somehow. He's only got one arm that's free. And he eats his food, and there's so many people in there. I notice, you know, Murder Matt starts kind of looking around. I don't know the guy on the phone's name. For the sake of the story, we'll call him Jay. So we have a point of reference for him. I didn't know him, but he was a real person. The story's true. I notice the guy on the phone, he's kind of keeps looking over his shoulder. You know, he seems a bit, where before he was just doing his thing on the phone, he starts looking a bit more anxious. And Matt, I kind of seen him a few times looking out of the corner of his eye towards that dude. First, you know, sometimes when you can tell something's about to happen because there's tension in the air. And I was, you know, I'm just from being around dangerous environments and stuff, you pick up this almost sixth sense. You can almost tell when something's about to happen. It gets quieter, things get more tense, body language changes. It's just, you know, anyone that's been in those situations knows what I'm talking about, you know, that's seen violence or fights happen, you know. So Murder Matt, he eats his food, and I noticed kind of, you know, he's glanced out the corner of his eye, and he's not talking as much anymore. He gets quiet. And that dude, Jay, on the phone, like I said, he keeps looking back. And after Murder Matt finishes his food, he starts slowly pacing. Not real fast, just slowly. And he's not looking at anybody. He's kind of looking at the floor, you know, trying to be nonchalant. It seems like he's trying to be nonchalant. Lo and behold, he knew this guy. I don't know what their beef was. I'm assuming it was some beef in the street. Maybe one of them robbed the other one. Maybe one, you know, it was some type of gang beef, or one of them hurt the other person or their family in the past, and there was some kind of, you know, grudge, some kind of street grudge, you know. I wasn't familiar with what the situation was, but they knew each other, and there was some beef. And, you know, you'll understand why as I continue the story. Murder Matt starts pacing back and forth. This room's maybe, I don't know, 20 feet by 10 feet, you know, roughly. I don't know. That's just a rough number. Maybe 25 feet long, 25 feet long by 10 feet wide to 12 feet at most. And like I said, there's probably like 40 of us in that room, you know, packed like sardines. And, you know, Matt's kind of pacing and weaving in between people back and forth, looking at the floor, but you see him kind of looking out of the corner of his eye. That Jay dude, he's starting to look a bit more and more anxious. And Matt, I notice he's being nonchalant, and he paces to one wall, the furthest wall from where Jay is. Jay's over this way. Matt goes to the furthest wall. He starts walking real slow back. And finally, he pops his head up. He starts getting closer back to Jay. He pops his head up and he cocked back, and his other arm is like this, and he's getting ready to go swing at Jay, but Jay's ready for it. He has the phone right here by his ear. I don't even think he was talking on the phone at this point. He was just fronting and pretending like he was, and you can hear the air go. He swings it hard as hell. He about ripped it out of the wall off the phone. They have a metal cord, and it's thick, dense black plastic. Those collect call phones. Anyone that's done time knows what I'm talking about. I'm sure most people that have done time have been on the phone at some point, or have tried to be on the phone. It's a thick, dense plastic. Getting hit in the head of that would hurt. It would not feel good at all. You'd either split you, it would definitely bust you open, or leave a giant goose egg on your head, and potentially maybe knock you out if you connected the right way. But it would definitely hurt a lot if you got hit, and especially a 210-pound man swinging it as hard as he could. But the cord's only so long, so he swings and it stops. Kind of, and he misses. Matt pulls back, and that's all it took for Matt. And Matt, he just comes up. He can't. Keep in mind, he can't use this hand. He can't use it as a guard to block. In boxing, you gotta, kind of block your face from being hit. He doesn't have this hand to guard his face, and he just runs up and starts teeing into this dude. And this dude keeps trying to grapple and grab a hold of Matt, but Matt's quick. Like I said, he's athletic. The other dude's big and strong. This dude's smaller but athletic and fast. And he just starts busting this dude. This dude kind of puts his head down and tries wrapping around Matt's waist. And Matt just starts, uppercut, bow, 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 bow. Just whooping this dude with one arm. Weighs 40, 50 pounds less than him. Like I said, he probably weighed 160, 170. The other dude's about 210, big boy. Murda Matt's smaller but athletic frame, more ripped, cut up type dude. Both, you're both black guys. And, just to give you all more description, not that that matters. But anyways, and from my understanding, I think Murda Matt was a blood. Don't quote me on that, but I think just by a lot of bloods kind of have a certain way they talk and swag to them, you can usually tell someone's a blood without them saying they are, especially in New York, by the way they talk, certain things they say. People that have done time in New York know exactly what I'm talking about, will understand that. There's certain terminologies and the way they greet each other and stuff, hand signs they throw up, things that, and tattoos they wear that you can identify them pretty easily. So anyways, Murda Matt's just destroying this dude. Catches him standing first. The dude puts his head down and tries to wrap Matt around his waist, but Matt kind of pushes away, with his broken arm. He can raise it up a little bit. He can't raise it up like this, but he can raise it away from his body a little, like chicken wing, kind of like. Puts it on top of the dude's head and just trying to push down. This dude's crazy, even trying to fight with one hand. Like, it just shows this dude's probably been through some stuff, if he was willing to fight like that and wasn't scared. Starts pushing dude's head down and just teeing off, uppercutting him. And, the J dude, like I say, he's trying to wrap him up, but wasn't doing too well. He was more trying to wrestle him and get him to the ground, I think, maybe, and then use his weight to his advantage. So as he's, Matt's starting to uppercut on him several times. It didn't take no time at all. The IPO officer seen what was going on quickly, because it went from everyone just kind of sitting and standing in the middle to people backing away from the fight so they don't accidentally get hit. And we're in this door, and there's glass. It's a metal door, but there's square glass. They can see what's going on in there, through the windows. And they seen what was going on pretty quickly. There's several officers, like I said, processing paperwork, people coming back from courts, etc., So that door, within 30 seconds of them starting to fight, slams open. And all of a sudden, one of the COs out in the processing area where the computers and the desk is and the fingerprint scanner thing and all that, the area where they take the chain off you, and there's an area where you get strip searched. It's more private, like little rooms with a shower in it. and like a curtain so people can't see you get stripped, except for the officer that's strip searching you. But there's that area over there. All of a sudden, one of the COs out there pulled the pin on their radio. The radios, you know, from my understanding, there's a pin on it, and when they pull it, and you know, it sends out an emergency response of their location. I'm pretty sure this is my understanding of the way the pin works. They pull it, and it will alert people to the location of where an incident is happening. Then they get on the microphone and tell what's, you know, one of the officers will be like, we got to fight an IPO, bullpen, blah 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 blah. Any available CERT team officer rushes to that spot as fast as possible. The person in the bubble control area that cracks the doors throughout the whole facility just starts opening doors through IPO fast, so that, you know, all of a sudden you see 6, 8, 10 CERT team officers rushing in. And you know, the CERT team stands for Certified Emergency Response Team. Some people call them the Turtle Squad or Ninja Turtle Squad because they think they look like Ninja Turtles, their outfit, you know. These guys are more trained to break up fights, stabbings, riots, things of that. You know, they have specialized training. A lot of them have been wrestlers when they were younger, MMA, you know, practice, go to MMA gyms, boxing, things of that nature. They have fight experience or military experience, you know, so they're all in good shape, strong. They're all at least very jacked and big. All of them look like strong men, you know, or big, large football player type men. They all start rushing in, and they just grab both those dudes without mercy and pick them up, and boom! And Jay had already got whooped, even though he got slammed. You know, it didn't seem to affect him too bad. You know, once the guards grabbed him, they rush in. Once that door had popped, they grabbed Jay. But when they slam Murda Matt, keep in mind, this dude's injured. His arm is broken. He starts screaming. And you can tell a man usually doesn't scream, but there's a certain type of scream you hear, you can tell when someone's hurt. And he's, oh God, my arm, oh God. You can tell they hurt him. I don't know if they re-broke it, what they done. And they don't care. They're just trying to stop the fight and eliminate the threat as quickly as possible. They put them in cuffs behind their back. They're laying on their stomachs. Like I said, at this point, there's probably between 6 and 10 CERT team big boy officers in there. Oh, and I forgot to mention in a very important part. When they came in, before they grabbed, they were still fighting. They just, stop fighting. Before they grabbed them, one of them pulled out a can of what they call mace. It's like a tank with like a nozzle on it. It's basically pepper spray, but when it came out, it was like a yellow foam that just... Have you ever sprayed like a hornet spray on a nest that's like up near your roof, or like a huge bee nest or a wasp nest, you know, you're trying to kill? It kind of comes out like that foamy mist. It came out like that and just went all over them. And they're, oh God. And after that, they pick them up and slam them, you know. So these officers, they got the mace on them too, because that stuff, if you just even touch it, it was all over those guys' body. And they had to pick them up and slam them on the floor. It got all over the cops. And all of us other, you know, 30 some odd, 40, whatever people that were in the room, I don't know if anyone, you know, anyone that's been around pepper spray when it's been administered, but it mists through the air. And when you breathe it in, it irritates your airways and your lungs. Everyone in the room is, even the CERT team, every single one of us are coughing. Our CERT team's trying to cuff them. That stuff's getting on their skin from touching the guys and slamming them, and it's burning them. You see them, you know, cuff them, and they're trying to, you know, not get it on their face, and, you know, wipe it on their pants, you know, to get off their hands because it's burning their hands. Any skin it touches, it burns like fire. They say mace is worse than pepper spray, is what I've told. They say it's way worse, like 5 times worse, 10 times worse, is what I've been told. I've never been hit directly with it, but I've inhaled it, and that stuff irritates the fire out of your lungs. It burns and itches and irritates your airway like crazy. And like I said, Murda Matt, Jay's just being quiet, and another officer comes in with what they call a taco. and the reason why they call it a taco is because once your hands are behind your back, it's like a black sleeve that goes over your body and forces your arms and your legs to your body. It wraps maybe from like your knees up to this part of your arms so that you can't move your arms. Your arms are fastened to your body like a straitjacket, and your legs are too. You can't separate your legs apart. You're bound inside of that. And like I said, you know, Murda Matt's in this sling. They rip his arm out of the sling, put his hands behind his back, and put him in the taco, put Jay in the taco. And, oh God, please stop my arm, it's fucking broken. Oh my God, he's crying, man. You know, he's pretty much crying, dude. They hurt him somehow. Like I said, I don't know what they did, but they hurt him. And like I said, when they feel like they're in danger because of violence going on, they don't really care if they hurt you, because their thought process is eliminate the threat, and you shouldn't have been fighting. That's part of the consequences of you being violent, you know. So they get them guys in there. Murda Matt screaming bloody murder. Oh God, he whooped Jay. Jay was lumped up, knotted, bleeding, but Murda Matt was, you know, he paid heavily too. So even though he got the better of Jay and he was the smaller guy and beat him with one arm, he paid from the COs and the mace. They both paid from the mace hit in their face and body. And we all paid in the room by inhaling the crap, myself included. It was awful. But you know, Murda Matt paid the biggest price because they probably broke his arm in the process. And once they get that around you, there's handles on it on your backside, and two officers literally carry you out like a briefcase. They pick you up by those handles, those strong straps, and they carry you right out of there. You know, so you're like this. Your face and stomach and this side of your body's facing the floor, and they carry you out. It's so humiliating looking. It looks so demoralizing. I've seen a few people in my time get put in it. I've never been put in it, thank God, but it looks pretty humiliating and demoralizing, being carried around like a suitcase or a duffel bag, being a grown man, you know. But they take him out there, and I assume they took him to the hole, you know, or, you know, the box, isolation, administrative segregation, whatever you want to call it, you know, for punishment for fighting. It's usually you'll go there for at least a week, maybe up to a month or two, depending on what you did, how serious it is, you know. You might get reclassified as a security threat or something. They might keep you there. Some guys get keep there depending on what they did. I'm assuming Murda Matt might have had to get, once they got all the pepper spray and mace off, they might have had to take him to the hospital. I didn't see what happened after that, but shortly after that happened, they cleared out the threat, and they tried to get us out of there quickly because all the mace, some of it hit the wall. I think a few guys got a little bit on them. That there's so many people in there, it's pretty hard not to get hit by it. A few guys got a little bit on them, like little miss, but the cop that aimed it did a pretty good job of keeping it on Jay, and even though there were so many of us in there. And after they got him out, they tried to get us all out of there pretty quick, so we weren't dealing with that crap, and they didn't have to worry about medical reports for everybody, you know, and got us back to our housing units, the pods, the cell blocks, or dorms we were all from. Yeah, that's what happened. It was pretty crazy. You know, sometimes you have to fight in jail. You don't have a choice. There's bullies in there. Some people might try robbing you. Some people might try pushing up on you. SEX, Yuli. There's various things that could happen in there. And sometimes you got to get busy. It's just part of it. I personally, I don't like to fight. I don't claim to be a tough guy, but if I have to, I will. You know, I've fought numerous times in my life. I honestly hate it. I don't enjoy it, but sometimes you got to stick up for yourself. You know, I try not to start fights, but by golly, if someone's pushing up on me or pressing me or is a threat or threatens me or tries hurting me, I'm absolutely going to fight without question, you know. You have to. You know, you can't just sit there and let them whoop you. You got to at least give it a shot. You're going to get whooped either way. If you don't defend yourself, they're going to whoop you. Your best bet is at least try to defend yourself. You know what I mean? Don't just stand there and ball up like a coward, you know. If you can't fight, learn how to fight. But takeaway from this story, in conclusion, stay out of jail. And if you do, be ready for what comes with it. You might run into people that you see in there that you have beef with. If you were doing a lot of dirt in the street, you might run into it when you go to jail or prison. Things we do follow us. So make good decisions so that some of your past decisions don't come back to haunt you in the future. It's something you don't want to experience. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. I'm gonna end this here and edit this and get this up for you guys ASAP. Like I said, if you enjoyed this, consider like, subscribe, sharing with a friend, family member, acquaintance, and if you comment, I will respond to these. So I love and appreciate all y'all. Thank you so much for the people that have shown support or have, up to this point. And until next time, thanks for growing with me, Sawyer P. I'll catch y'all next time. Have a good day. Take care.